All right, well, good afternoon. Thanks for being here. My name is Mark Meyer, and I'm the Vice President of the Enviroguard Division of Paradigm Labs. Today, we're going to be talking about not just React Extract, but the start of a series of new tools that we've been working on to help you improve your sales, to help you improve your closing percentage on those sales, and to really differentiate you from your competition. So we're going to get right into it here. And let's go ahead and go through what Extract is and does. And I'm going to see if I can minimize a window I have here. All right. So as everybody knows, or if you're not familiar, React Extract is a remediation system that we've been developing over the last several years. It began with a product that we call OxyPar LR, and then we combined that with OxyPrep. Okay, now Prep goes on before PAR, and the combination of those two products react and neutralize at the same time. And we found that by using those with a BTM sprayer and a wet extraction process, that not only are we sticking to the IICRC S520 standard for mold remediation, but we're actually able to help you increase your profits as well as your efficiency without losing any efficacy, okay? So one of the nice features about the React Extract system when it's combined that way, OxyPrep, OxyPar, and the BTM sprayer, is that we see somewhere between a 60 and 70% reduction in labor, which obviously goes right to your bottom line. And that neutralization reaction limits chemical odors or any other downside that you might find from general chemicals. Additionally, the neutralization reaction lifts and suspends soil load from the surface being remediated, and it's wet extracted afterward, which prevents soil redeposition. That maximizes contamination control as well, and it provides a superior result, which is great for your Google reviews. And at the end of the day, if we don't help you sell more, then why should you be using us as your chemical provider? Okay, so that brings us to this guide. Now, a lot of folks who are already on the React Extract system probably received a package from us last week, and it had a bunch of these in there. We're going to go through this, and I want to kind of really dig into why it is that we designed it the way that we did. And if, by the way, if you find that you're not muted, if you would mute your microphone, that would be fantastic, so it doesn't get recorded. Anyway, so I want to take you through the exact verbiage that we're using in this so that you understand, and hopefully, you know, anyone who you're working with who would be using this understands exactly why we wrote what we did. This is meant to be a guide to keep you on track, to keep your estimators and or your salespeople on track, so that when they're talking to customers, whether those be real estate agents or whether they be a homeowner, you hit on every single talking point that you want to hit on. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice is React Extract has its own logo. Now, one thing that's significant about the React Extract logo is that we have created a free licensing program for our React Extract customers, which means that all of the content that we are writing behind this, the logo itself, can be backlinked to our website, and we can work together to engage more customers through search engine optimization and things of that nature. So you're going to hear a lot more about that in the near future, but we're taking steps in that direction to help even with your SEO. So you're going to notice that we've phrased this as a comprehensive guide to selecting a remediation contractor for your home. Now, the idea behind this being that once your customer gets a hold of this information, whether somebody came in before you or somebody comes in after you, they will be very well educated, and nobody else will compare to the level of knowledge that you have in presenting your services and why they should be done to S520 standards, specifically this way. All right, so let's go ahead and flip a page here. So on the inside of the cover, what you're going to see is that we hit first on site assessment. Oop, let me go back one. Site assessment. Okay. So this was developed directly from the S520. If you were going to go into S520 and read about the process of remediation, everything begins with site assessment. So you can see right underneath that, it says understanding the problem is the first step to solving it, right? And the first part of site assessment is called information gathering. That's when you and your you get the family's background. Let's say if this is a residential type of customer, you would get you and your family's background and their habits, right? What kind of habits do they have just in their daily life of taking showers, washing clothes, all of those sorts of things. You are gathering information on. You're also getting a history of their property, as much as they can tell you, right? They may not be the original owners, but they may have documentation and things that allow you to understand more about the way a building is constructed, whether that be the type of insulation or the type of foundation, etc. All right. And then what all of your concerns are, right? What concerns that customer has, whether it be with their home directly all the way through their health, right? So the information gathering is number one. So the way that we're talking through this with a customer is from their standpoint, what's in the best interest of them? So the way that I would present something like this is to say, the first thing I want to do is I want to get a complete history and get to know you and your family's habits so that we know how you use your home, the things that you do that may have created or in part created this issue that we're here to talk to you about today, right? Something like that. We also need to get a history of your property as much as you have, and go through a list of all of those things that you want to capture. By the way, as an aside, if you don't have a good list of these types of things, that's what we're here for. So if you need a tool so that you can kind of go down this and kind of check this stuff off, let us know about that. We'd love to hear from you. And then concern, same sort of thing. Number two is the building inspection. The building inspection. So the first thing that we want to do is understand your property's current condition, right? We want to determine all problem sources. Instead of just going in and pinpointing where the customer thinks the problem's at, it may be there, but it also, that might not be the source, right? That just might be where the problem terminates. So we need to determine all problem sources, which means a complete inspection. And then health and safety determinations are made to address inaccessible spaces, contamination, structural damage, and moisture through the least intrusive means. I think it's important to talk about that a little bit, right? Especially intrusive means. We're not going to go in there without their permission and put holes in the walls and things of that nature. We're going to be as non-invasive as possible. But we also have to look for things like inaccessible spaces. Do those spaces exist because there's a really low-slung crawl space or a very low-slung attic space? If so, how are we going to go about dealing with those sorts of things? So the more we know in the beginning, the more we can help the customer. So this is all part of our building inspection. Number three is our preliminary determinations. First, we're going to get conclusions from the building inspection, identifying all known and suspected sources of moisture as a report. And we're going to also think about other specialized experts that may be needed to perform additional services. Say we go in there as to inspect and we have the ability to remediate if we're in a state where we can do both. Well, then there may be somebody who needs to be called in as an IEP. There may be someone who needs to be called in as a waterproofing company. Who knows? They may have a pest control problem. You may need to bring a pest company in to take a look at some concerns that you have. The fourth thing is developing work plans. These are recommendations of specific services, service procedures and protocols, scheduling of services, and developing an estimate. And this is where the close begins, right? Because the information that you need to gather to begin closing on dates where they would like to see service established, which is the scheduling of those services, the development of the estimate itself to get them closer to buying from you, and of course building their own comfort in your company. Involves building out the procedures and protocols that you're going to use. If you're familiar with us, we have protocols already pre-built that you can pull from and insert that into your documentation or coincide it with your documentation. all of those four things leads us to the result. And the result's pretty simple. Once the site assessment's complete, there are two possible outcomes. Either there's no evidence of moisture or mold growth in a building, or there is evidence of moisture and mold growth in the building, right? That's just the point that we want to get to, and we want to know exactly where those sources are and exactly where those mold issues have developed as a result of that source. Okay, now the second part of this is site preparation. Understanding the importance of building protection, a safe work environment, treatment of contents and materials, and cross-contamination controls, which begins with protecting the building. We've got to create a clear and safe pathway to and from the work area. This means that we don't want to create liability for anybody, right? We don't want to create liability for ourselves, and we don't want to create liability from our customers. It's an important step in the overall process. Secondly, creating a safe environment. The use of personal protection equipment to protect workers, management of any hazardous or regulated materials that are going to be used in the course of the job, and safety for owners and occupants. Now, obviously, you can go through these and talk about what it is you do. If your standard, and I hope it is, to use personal protection equipment, and you're using something like Ty-Chem suits and all of these sorts of things, well, then all of that should not only be documented, but you may want to talk about the lengths that you go to in your PPE, in your management of hazardous and regulated materials, and in how you protect the safety of owners and occupants, even if it's the recommendation of them not being there during service. You can pose all of that as a benefit to the customer. Now there's contents manipulation, the removal of non-permanent contents for safekeeping, cleaning, and/or sanitizing, and/or the covering of permanent contents such as cabinets, shelving, and appliances. Again, it gives you the talking points to delve into exactly what you do in that regard, so that we're not just saying, be a robot and talk about these things. It gives you those bullet points and that opportunity to have a conversation, okay? And then the final thing is controlling the environment. Explain containment, build value in exactly what it is that you do. You, as a remediation professional, are paid for your time and your labor, and to not go through these points is to leave money on the table and risk business to people who don't do it to the degree that you do. So you want to talk about the importance of containment, negative air pressure differentials, and how that impacts cross-contamination management. You want to talk about HEPA-filtered air scrubbing and how you're going to capture airborne contaminants so that it doesn't, those contaminants don't get spread throughout the space that you're working in into other parts of the home. And then you want to talk about contact HEPA vacuuming for the removal of loose and settled contaminants prior to cleaning, why that's important. And instead of starting the cleaning procedure immediately, why is it that you need to use a HEPA vacuum and prevent those contaminants from getting airborne, right? Okay, now we've established our baseline, and now we get to flip the page and talk about the process of cleaning, right? Now, this is where we want to be very clear with the customer that remediation is not about killing mold. It's an easy word to use, the word kill, okay? And a lot of even chemical manufacturers love to use that word, and to get, maybe younger remediators in this business to think that they need to be killing mold all day long. But we all know that it's a matter of removal and not killing. We need a clean and dust-free surface at the end of the day. We don't need a surface where we've just sprayed a bunch of antimicrobials. In fact, S520 recommends strongly against the overuse of antimicrobials. Okay, so this starts with contaminated materials removal. We're going to contain and seal to prevent cross-contamination. Again, this gives you the opportunity to talk about the importance of it and what it is that you specifically do to contain and seal in preventing cross-contamination, and then minimal necessary demolition to help prevent against costly reconstruction. We only do as much as we need to do as far as demolition is concerned. If we're in a crawl space environment and we have a cross-contamination concern with insulation, for example, we need to be able to explain that. Okay, it's time to slow down a little bit and explain why a material that is highly absorbative should be removed because of the settled mold spores that are likely, because we're in a category 3 environment, to go ahead and remove that insulation before remediation begins. Now, this is where step number 2 here, we get into, let me zoom in a little bit, the visual restoration aspect. Now, I realize that if you're not doing React Extract yet, you may go, why is visual restoration done first? It's because of the order in which our chemical neutralization occurs that we recommend visual restoration first, but also it provides you with a very good way to see what's going on at the surface level, because as soon as oxyprep, in this case, is applied to the surface, the microbial stain mitigation takes place, and it improves the aesthetic immediately, right? So you can see it's obviously kind of paired right next to the picture where that is beginning to happen. Then the third step is neutralization and contaminant suspension. Now, those 2 words are very important. Neutralization, you want to explain to your customer that after neutralization takes place, there's no harmful chemistry that's left on the surface, right? That's the point of it. Now, neutralization also, and this is the second point for you to understand and for your customers to understand, that neutralization reaction is what causes the foaming reaction, which is that physical neutralization being expressed visually. And that's what leads to the contaminant suspension. So that contaminant, rather than being in the surface or on the surface, is then raised from the surface and suspended in the foam that's forming, okay? So that's stage 2. And it says here, neutralization reaction results in the physical action to drive contaminants to the surface of the resultant foam, okay? Physical action's an important term as well because it's a specific term used in S520. The fourth part of this is wet extraction. Now, if I'm in your shoes, the thing that I want to point out is maybe part of the efficiency of your procedure, rather than having to dry the surfaces first or to wait for those to dry, where in the HEPA sandwich you would HEPA to prevent any contamination of loose particulate, followed by cleaning, followed by, once it's dry, another HEPA vacuum, okay? Here we don't have to wait. Here we've got that neutralization, that suspension of contaminants in the foam, and now we're immediately able, and by immediate I mean within 3 to 5 minutes, able to wet extract those surfaces, which gives us the containment and control again that we're looking for, right? In the HEPA sandwich, the reason that you're using a HEPA filter is for that control and containment. Here, in a very similar method to what you might see with asbestos abatement, we're using moisture as our contaminant control. And of course, the vacuum for extraction. The other nice thing to talk about in wet extraction is that we're not doing any wipe downs, right? As soon as that soil load is suspended into that foam, we're extracting it from the surface, which means that you're not pressing it back into the surface. If you're in there with brushes scrubbing, and if you're in there with wipers wiping down those surfaces, you're actually pressing some of that soil load, mold and other contaminants back into the surface. So this gives us a much cleaner surface so that you can talk about also the expectation of results with your customer. And then finally, we're talking about disposal, removing the contaminants and materials to an approved off-site location so that it's not just disposed of on their property, and they don't have to be concerned about that either, okay? So those are the 5 steps there. There's a lot of information in there. And again, we're going to go to the next page, but I do want to express here that we would be happy outside of a meeting like this to talk with you more about it if you just kind of need to nail down some details and refine your own thinking and maybe the way that you might present. Okay, the last page is an important one because so many times remediation is connected to the sale of a house. So we want to talk about recurrence prevention. So it says here, on average, we sell our homes every 7 years. The goal of proper remediation and necessary moisture control centers on 3 big picture items: preserving your property's value, eliminating non-disclosure liabilities, and limiting price negotiations when it comes time to sell. Preventing the recurrence of moisture issues is sometimes solved with repairs, and at other times the proper installation of active and/or passive moisture controls. Specialized experts may be required to perform these services. That just completely sets you up, right? So one of the things that we learned last year as we were working on, and we'll get there in just a little while, working on the whole warranty program and inspections and things of that nature, is that if our customers were to pair moisture controls with their remediation services, we saw a doubling of their business. So on average, many of our customers who participated in that test last year, 2018, were able to go from an average of about $3,500 per job, per remediation job, to about $7,000. I think it was actually about $7,200. So it's important here that you slow down and take time to educate your customer about preserving property values, which, by the way, is in large part directly related to limiting price negotiations. If a customer has a mold issue or a moisture issue, and it goes and the first person who is taking a look at it is the home inspector, and it gets documented, that leverage is going to be used against that seller every single time, right? And it's never a one-to-one ratio where that buyer is asking for, oh, well, it's going to cost $3,500, so I want $3,500. It's always going to be in their favor. It's going to, hey, this could be up to $10,000, right? This could be up to $20,000, and all of a sudden the seller finds themselves on the heels. So it's important for us in educating a seller to use this to our advantage and their advantage by pointing it out to them. And then non-disclosure liabilities. Nobody wants to sell their home only to get sued later on, right? This is something that for the maybe top 20% of real estate agents who will really take time to listen, this is very important to them because they don't want to have a problem after they sell the house. They want to maximize their commission by preserving property values and eliminating price negotiations, but they also don't want something to come back to bite them later on. So this makes a very good presentation, by the way, and a handout for your agents. Okay. So let's move on here. Your remediation professional should provide evidence of proper insurances, which should include your general liabilities, construction pollution liability, or contractor's pollution liability, contractor's errors and omissions, and/or professional liability and workers' compensation. And additionally, your remediation professional should provide evidence of their certification by a nationally recognized ANSI-approved certifying agency. In some states, licensing is a requirement, right? So this just walks you through all of the things that you want to be able to present to your customer to create a confident customer who knows that you've got your stuff together and that you're able to just lay it on the line for them in a very organized way so that they have perfect confidence in your ability to execute, which means they're going to hire you to do the job. Okay, so that's the first part of our presentation here, and I want to let you know that all of these are available, first of all, as printed brochures. As you place orders with us, just let whoever your customer service rep is know that you want brochures, and we'll send them directly to you, okay, for free, okay? Just ask when you're placing your orders, and we'll send you the brochures for free. The second thing is that we can provide this to you as either a PowerPoint or a Keynote, so that if you've got iPads and your folks have iPads, they can then just use the presentation and go through this as well. It'll page through just like you saw before, and it'll zoom in on areas so that you can take your time explaining it. Also, we can provide it as a PDF, JPEG, or PNG. You may want to email people with this information, right? You may want to take snippets and screenshots and use it in your own way, and this allows you to do that. So we can provide it in all three formats to help you and establish more sales in your business. The other thing that this leads to, and I mentioned it before, is that we're going to do a free license to our customers for our intellectual property, okay? There's only a couple stipulations. First of all, you must be an active Enviroguard customer with just one purchase per month, right? That's not much. You must backlink from your service site to the Enviroguard homepage. That will be good for both of us, right? So we can establish more SEO on both sides and push leads in your direction as well. As people might, even hit our site, we have the ability to push them back to you. We don't deal with any homeowners or property owners, only professionals. And you must use the intellectual property correctly, right? That's what the IP agreement is all about, okay? Very simple. You'll get a brand management guide and everything else. We'll organize it for you. We'll spend time if you need to. And this is a great way also to engage us in the development of future materials that can be used to close sales and other services that you offer. First of all, you'll want to contact your account advisor if you want more information on any of this. If you want to look at a license, for example, as we move toward that, or if you're looking to place your first order, you just need more information on OxyPrep, OxyPar, or if you simply need more marketing materials. We were with a company over in Central Tennessee last week, and they said, can you send us another 100 of those? We're going to go through these pretty quickly. So anyway, there's a few ways to get in touch with us. First, you can email us at enviroguard@paradigmlabs.us, or you can call us through our toll-free number at 888-933-4554, or you can hit us up at paradigmlabs.us, okay? Any of those ways that you want to contact us, you'll get to us. Just ask for your account advisor, and the folks in Pennsylvania will make sure that you get to the right person. Let them know if we don't currently work with you, just let them know what state you're in, because everything is categorized according to state. Okay. The other thing is that fulfillment is very necessary, the ability for you to get your product. And this is going to be ever expanding. I want to explain it. To begin with, our Pine Grove, Pennsylvania, and our St. Gabriel, Louisiana locations are manufacturing locations, and we can ship directly out of there. Now, we have a new location in Nashville, Tennessee, and this new location is actually a OnGuard location. And if you're not familiar with OnGuard yet, that is where we went with last year's test. The 2018 test became its own company, okay? So that we can do inspections and we can do insurance-backed guarantees and things of that nature for our customers. Well, one of the OnGuard dealers now is going to be a stocking dealer of Enviroguard products to make it available locally to folks in Tennessee, okay? So now we've got 3 locations for fulfillment, and that will be, continue to grow. We've also got technical support directly out of our office here in Boone, and then we're bringing Nashville up to speed as well so that they can technically support, and we'll be working with them, okay? So that's just a little bit about where we're going with that. Now, let's take us back here to recurrence prevention, because I want to show you how to leverage this tool and why OnGuard may be very helpful to you closing sales. It's one thing to be able to offer remediation services and moisture control services, but the ever-present objection could always be price, right? Instead of $3,500, now it's $7,000, and before you know it, your customer says, I would love to hire you, it sounds great, but I just can't afford to. Now, we can, of course, address that in the form of a same as cash program, but before we do that, why don't we leverage it in terms of a inspection that will occur immediately after services are rendered that qualifies that customer for a $100,000 insurance-backed guarantee, which also results in a property history report that's a lot like a Carfax for their home, so that all the information, whether it be the moisture controls that were installed down to home improvements that they make and even the paint colors that are on their walls can go, and the annual inspection that they get can be organized into one place and easily passed on if they ever go to sell their home in the future, right? So that's where we can go here. That's where this conversation goes. So let me introduce you to OnGuard. If you haven't been involved with us for a while, you may be unfamiliar, but we did a test of 25 companies last year, and those were all contracting companies, and we established the insurance side of things last year. And then we got to a point where we said, you know what, this really needs to be its own entity. It needs to focus on helping its dealers establish a business where the business of that dealer is nothing but inspections and guarantees and the annual inspections that coincide with it, just like pest control, okay? It is developed from the same model, and OnGuard became a paperless way of doing that instead of turning business owners into accountants and marketing experts, simply allows them to focus on their business instead of working in their business. So, OnGuard Systems partners with a national network of independent dealers to align property owners and managers who are the OnGuard members, the insurance industry and the restoration industry, resulting in reduced insurance costs to property owners and managers, increased profits to insurers in the restoration industry, and reduce risk to all parties. So how do we do this? Well, there's three methods to this. The first.
Hey, can you help me maximize my screen, please?
Sure.
Okay, could somebody mute that, please? The OnGuard 199-point inspection is an annual whole property inspection of the exterior, interior, mechanicals, and unconditioned spaces of a property. Issues detected by the inspection generate a work production protocol for subcontractor execution. Now, this is what I was telling you about, is like the Carfax. All of that information and the growing record of OnGuard inspections, plus all other inspection services, receipts, and other documents that present a clear picture and full disclosure of the property are all saved in one place initially and year by year and ongoing. The members, in fact, can do the very same thing themselves. And then the OnGuard Protection Guarantee is insurance-backed and covers up to $100,000 damage and bill back if visible mold ever occurs within the property from the failure of either the OnGuard authorized dealer and or specific services, systems, and maintenance. So this is kind of a little schematic of how it works. Everything, we always say everything begins with the inspection, and there's only two possibilities. Either A, the inspection passes and it goes immediately to guarantee, or the inspection fails, repairs are completed, re-inspected to pass, and then everything that goes to guarantee becomes part of the property history report, and that simply recurs once a year. Now, there are actually three opportunities within OnGuard. The first is the dealer. This is the entrepreneur who says, I've got maybe an existing business. I see the opportunity here for creating residual income. I love the fact that it's exclusive on a per county basis, et cetera, and they are really ready to take on a second business and develop a second business that is based upon recurring income alone, okay? That's great because it's fantastic for not only creating value if you ever go to sell a business that has contracts, right? Probably thousands of contracts at that point in time. And in addition to that, that residual income means stable cash flow. It's one of the things that was my goal for the restoration industry, is to get to a point where the restoration industry had some form of stable income. Now, not everybody is cut out for the OnGuard authorized dealership. You might be extremely busy and focused in your restoration business, and that's okay. We've got another opportunity for you. That's the OnGuard authorized agent. This is someone who says, I don't want to run a separate business, but I do want to have the ability to work either with my local dealer and do our own inspections and use that as a way to create some residual income on that side of things, as well as to leverage it to increase the sales of these services that you're currently selling, remediation services, water damage services, etc. And so it allows for that. It gives you the freedom and flexibility to do your own inspections, and you would either work through a local dealer who's already in place, or you would work through the OnGuard corporate dealership, okay, where we kind of act as your sponsor to be able to do that sort of thing. The third possibility is the affiliate. This is the service company that says, you know, we don't really want to add anything to what we're doing other than the leverage of OnGuard. We want to be able to go to our customers and say, here are the services that we offer. As soon as we complete those services, an OnGuard representative will be in to inspect your property. As soon as they do, you'll qualify for the OnGuard Protection Guarantee System. And of course, you'll have a supply of brochures and everything else to use to leverage that. And that will help you leverage other sales within your company. So if you're not currently selling moisture controls, for example, maybe you start selling moisture controls and pairing them with your remediation. Maybe you have no desire to sell moisture controls, but what you want to do is just increase your sell-through of your remediation services and pair it with the OnGuard Protection Guarantee itself. That's fine. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever represents success for you, we can help you do that through the OnGuard affiliate program. So kind of back to where we left off. Now it kind of makes more sense as to why you want to end with recurrence prevention here, because what it allows you to do is take a tool like this and then go directly into an education of what's possible with your customer. Most people don't even know that this is possible. You may not have even known that it's possible. So let's page through a little bit, okay? So the first thing that we get to is guaranteed peace of mind. The OnGuard guarantee is a $100,000 transferable guarantee that protects you against moisture control issues, a potential gap in your homeowner's coverage. All the authorized dealers are backed by an A+ rated environmental insurance carrier, one of the top 3 in the US. The authorized dealer is certified by the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors to offer the OnGuard 199-point inspection, the protection guarantee, and the property history report. Then we get into this area that's more than a moisture inspection. With the help of our team, you can follow the 5 steps to success and rest easy knowing we're OnGuard. So they would find an authorized dealer near them, and of course, that authorized dealer is trained in the 199-point inspection. At this point, it could be an agent as well, by the way. Okay, so we'll probably manipulate this. We're constantly manipulating content, as you might imagine. Schedule an inspection date with your OnGuard dealer. Start your OnGuard property history report. Keep your property history report up to date, and transfer your OnGuard protection guarantee when it's time to sell. One of the nice things is that this is paperless, so that if one of these things appeals to you, you can kind of rest easy knowing that it doesn't take more than about an iPad and a couple of tools in your hip pocket to do these inspections. All right, so let's flip back to this. And by the way, all of this this stuff is available. So if you wanted to look in more detail at these brochures and other things, we'd be happy to send you a PDF on it. There's no reason for me to waste your time right now reading everything word by word. Okay, the OnGuard protection guarantee coverage. The OnGuard protection guarantee offers 3 levels of protection. The inspection, which by the way, is where we begin really building value, because when you think about the fact that identifying issues when they're small, when they're just maintenance issues, is the key to keeping the cost of home ownership or property ownership down, then a homeowner or a commercial property owner would love you to come out to their property once a year, take a look at everything from the inside out, and either say, yep, everything's good, or hey, we found a little leak here, we found some areas where some caulking needs to be done, those sorts of things. Well, it's cheap. That's where we go ahead and take care of things to keep that cost of living low. Up to $100,000 in coverage for remediation, restoration, and construction costs if visible mold develops on permanent surfaces. And property history report instills confidence in selling your property because unknown moisture-related liabilities won't hinder you or your buyer. Oh, we do zoom in there. I should have done that. All right, the next section talks a little bit about the inspection. Every year, your OnGuard authorized dealer will conduct a comprehensive 199-point inspection of your entire property, from landscape grade and gutters and downspouts through plumbing, ductwork, mechanicals, structural moisture content, and much, much more. By the way, you'll notice at the bottom there's an asterisk that says if visible mold ever appears in the inspected areas, it will be assessed within 4 hours and will be repaired to a limit of $100,000. The nice thing about being insurance-backed means that we also have everyone who can go out and manage claims. So within the continental United States, if there is a claim in any area within the continental United States, someone can be dispatched and they will be at that property within 4 hours to check it out. All right, let's go to the back page here. The OnGuard property history report. The OnGuard property history report means you can easily disclose whatever work has been done to the home to any future buyer. They're more confident because they know more about the home's maintenance, regular inspections, service records, warranties, and improvements. That higher confidence means less trouble in negotiations for you. And then rest easy, we're OnGuard. With your new best friend in moisture control on the lookout, you can let go of any anxiety about hidden moisture. Your OnGuard authorized dealer is on the case, armed with our certification process and the 199-point inspection. And there's a lot of other things that we're working on in the background to pair with this in the future. You'll notice that we mentioned you don't have to worry about disasters that fall into the gaps in your homeowner's insurance. There's more to come on that. Okay, so if you have interest in OnGuard, and you can see how these two sides of things, being able to begin systematically creating the presentations and using the talking points that are provided by Enviroguard, paired with your ability to at least leverage OnGuard, if not maybe do inspections, if not maybe even look at the dealership opportunity. Here are some ways to get in touch with OnGuard. First is info@onguardus.com. The second, you can call toll-free, the 844-610-4967, or just go to onguardguarantee.com and begin getting your questions answered there, and then email us directly from that homepage. Let me go ahead and open this up to questions, and I'm going to have to ask the guys here to probably help me out a little bit, because this is my first time using this system. So I'm going to continue recording just in case there's some good questions and some good chat questions that we can answer. So if you would type any of your questions into the chat. If for some reason I can't see them, then one of the guys here will help me, and we will get those questions answered for you. I don't want to open up everyone's microphone, and I don't know enough about the microphone system in this to not open it up all at one time and accidentally have all kinds of noise in the background, if you know what I mean. Do we have any questions? I must have done a fantastic job. There's somebody talking, but I can't really tell what's going on. Hey guys, could you help me out there and just tell me if there's any questions that are coming through on your side that you can see? I see that Mark is raising his hand. Let me see if I can click on participants here and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, thanks, Mark.
Okay, I was just wondering, do you have any case studies with the React system that have been like cleared by a hygienist or an indoor environmental professional, just from the standpoint to demonstrate that the system does pass a hygienist or IEP's test?
So, Mark, one of the things I've actually been meaning to do, and fortunately now one of the things that I have more time to do, is actually follow up with probably the 50 or 60 companies that are very active with React Extract right now. So I bet I can get that information for you in black and white, but I need to follow up with people who began adopting the system maybe a year and a half ago, because they would have those records, of course, and could help me. So if you would, I'll send a email out to that concentrated group and ask the question if we can get that information. We haven't spent a lot of time gathering that because we've been building the systems and everything else, as you can probably tell. Any other questions? I'm not noticing anybody with any more raised hands. Okay, well, you've seen how to get in touch with everybody from the OnGuard side as well as the Enviroguard side. If you do have questions, Please feel free to get in touch with representatives from both companies. They would be more than happy to help you out. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. And I really appreciate everyone's time today. We look forward to working with you and serving you in the very near future. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.